Racism, police brutality, racial injustice, a constant reminder of the structural racism that America still has to deal with day after day. Constantly embedded into our society throughout history, the relationship between police and community have been strained, particularly in areas of color. And yes, things can be extremely complex. Attorney Royce Russell wrote a book called Cardiac Arrest, and that actually tackles the complex relationship as well as the tactical guide on how to best interact with law enforcement. He joins us now as we have this conversation because in the hearts and minds of many Americans, particularly in communities of color, people just want to make it home alive. And that's a real threat for many people when they have interactions with police. Attorney Royce Russell joins us here, and good to have you.
No, thank you. Thank you for creating a forum so we can speak truth to light.
Yeah. And let's just be honest. I mean, you're an African American, I'm an African American. We've all been stopped by police, and we have to admit, whether or not people want to admit it or not, that is probably one of the most scariest occurrences. And like I said in the lead, some people are just very worried about making it home alive.
You know, it's interesting that you brought that up. When you look at the title of the book that I authored, is called Cardiac Arrest, a tactical guide on how to handle unlawful police stops. You know, when attorneys speak and when I speak, we speak for a reason. Every word that comes out of our mouth is coming out for a reason. So let's start there. Cardiac arrest. How symbolic is that to how we feel and the thoughts that we have as African Americans, and in particular African American males, no matter what the age, whether the age 14 to the age 84, of the feeling that you have when you're stopped by the police. Your blood pressure rises, your hands get sweaty. You think that you're having symptoms of a heart attack because your life flashes before you. The things that you could have did, the things that you should have done, the things that you want to do, all because you're being stopped. And it is traumatic. It is unwarranted and unfair. And as an attorney that practices in civil rights, false arrest, police brutality, and is practiced in criminal defense, and born and raised in the Bronx, St. Mary's Projects, Jackson Avenue, 156th Street. I see you. I know. I see you. I will always say that because I'm a Bronx kid in my heart, no matter what. I wanted to create an instrument that we can empower ourselves, that we can reduce the anxiety and have a game plan when we leave the household, that we don't have to worry about the oral traditions of passing down the talk, that we have it 8x5. Small, but very impactful with information that we can have and use when we have these encounters so we can make it home alive.
Yeah. Well, let's walk through this here because when we look at the death of George Floyd and interaction with police, that we now see the whole world got to see a young man that lost his life snuffed out right then and there. Police make a stop. Many people say, listen, you know what? I want to talk back. I want to do this. Let's walk through this for a few moments. If a person is stopped by the police and you're stopped in your vehicle, what are some of the first things that you should do?
All right. So I want to answer your question, but I want to preface it with is that we know that police have a responsibility, but we can't rely on their irresponsibility. So we have to be responsible and we have to empower ourselves. And far too many times when we have their interaction, we're expecting them to do something for us. How ironic is that? You're expecting the police to actually do something for you. It seems that is the American way. You call the police, they come to help. But in our community, the police are called or the police stop you. And oftentimes it doesn't lead to help. But in that moment, in that interaction, you're looking for help. So we need to understand that there is no law that says that they have to tell you why they stopped you. It's not written in the patrol guide. It's not codified in any New York statutes. So when you ask the question, officer, why did you stop me? You should know automatically that he or she does not have to give you a reason. And if you're playing chess and not playing checkers, you should anticipate that even if they had an obligation, non-legal obligation, that they're not going to give you that information. And that has been the history, the long, long history in how police have been more militarized, less community-based in how they treat our communities. And let me inform you that no matter how nicely you ask the question, why am I being stopped? Can you tell me why I'm being stopped? You should understand, and here's a tactical moment because you asked me, what should you do? One thing, mentally understand that the words that come out of your mouth, no matter how polite, how courteous, and they come out in a form of a question, is not received as that. You're saying, can you please tell me why you stopped me? It is my belief what they're hearing is, just give me your license and registration. They're not even hearing what you're asking because they believe that they don't have an obligation to give you that answer. And if I don't believe I have an obligation to give you the answer, I'm not even recognizing it is a question as opposed to a statement and a chip as to my authority and what I can and cannot do, which creates the escalation and the pivotal one point of hostility, which then goes on and goes on.
Yeah. Well, talk to me about common mistakes that people make. What are some of the common mistakes that people make when doing this?
Okay, so one common mistake. If you notice that the police are behind you and they're about to stop you, or you have that feeling, you should automatically call someone. You call that person and you let them know, look, I'm about to be stopped by the police, or I anticipate I'm going to be stopped by the police. I want you to be an ear witness. And how do you define an ear witness? Someone that is just listening to what's going on. They don't have a comment. You're not to comment, because if you do comment, then that police officer is going to recognize that there's someone that's listening, and that will escalate the stop. So you call your spouse, you call your brother, you call your sister, you call a friend, and you say, I'm about to be stopped. I want you to just listen. They put their phone on mute so no background noise can be heard, and you can start to articulate what's going on. What do I mean by that? You say, Officer Robinson, quote unquote, Officer Robinson. So now the listener know that you're speaking to someone that is named Robinson. When that officer takes your driver's license and registration and walks back, hopefully you are composed and you're able to get the information, i.e. the badge or shield, and you're able to tell that ear listener and that ear witness the shield number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so they could take it down. So this way, you're not moving in your car. There can be no true allegation that he was going in his glove compartment. And given that nowadays we have smartphones, let's use it. You have your insurance on your phone. You can go to the application if you're fearful that you go to your glove compartment, something may happen, and say, officer, I want to show you my information by way of my phone. Here it is. Here go the application. So, I mean, those are just some of the tips in dealing with that stop. You know, we have a saying called think calm. And, you know, we've been giving out these bracelets. I don't know if we can see it, but we've been giving out these bracelets called Think Calm. Let me get it right. Think Calm. Mm-hmm. And what it stands for is what we want you to do at the time that you stop. So we want you to, for the C, stay composed. And that means stay composed means have the ability to not let your emotions get the best of you, although I know it's hard. Because if you're composed, then you can give me information that I need as an attorney as to who was your abuser. Name, shield, license plates of the car. We want you to be aware. Let me turn it the right way. Be aware. And that's the A for think calm. Be aware. Know whether or not there's cameras in your area. Know whether or not there's cameras on the corner. New York City Police Department cameras or cameras by the bodega. And if you get stopped in that area, align yourself with the cameras, or at least take note so you can tell your attorney that one exists. The L is for listen. Now, I want to be very clear. Yes, you need to listen to the officers and what they're telling you to do, but also you need to listen to what they're saying about you. Why they're saying you were stopped as they speak to one another. Listen for names, listen for shield, listen for how they're communicating on the radio. All that information is helpful. And then the last, which we have seen throughout our time, is make a call. And make a call is just plain and simple. You have to know a telephone number that you can give to someone else, that you can memorize, that you can say, hey, Brother X, please call my wife at 718-785-8890. And hopefully a bystander will do that and make a call or make a video. Those are just some of the tips that I like to spread and share with our community. As I say, think calm, stay composed, be aware, listen, and make a call and or make a video. And so I think those are just some helpful tips that if we all arm ourselves with it, we'll be ahead of the game, knowing how people view us.
But then you've got police who say, listen, I don't want to be videotaped or put the phone down or this, that, and the third. What's a person's legal right when they have a camera or a phone, a smartphone?
So the legal right is that you can take a video. It's in a police patrol guide. It hasn't been codified as law that is against the law for a police officer to take that away from you, but it's in the patrol guide. You have a right to video. What I advise everyone to do is use common sense, even though sometimes sense is not that common, but let's try to tap into it. If you're going to video, don't announce it. Now, some people would say, I announced that I'm going to video in efforts of stopping the police officer from doing what we think is going to be something that's detrimental to the person that they're stopping. But if you do that, then you have to know that you're going to become the focus and the object of the police officer, quote unquote, affection. And their number one mission is going to be to try to get that phone away from you. So you can video in silence, but there is no law to say that you can't video. You just need to stay a safe distance away. And it's been an industry norm that a safe distance away is 20 feet or more. And you can video in silence. And it's a great point that you brought up as far as video. When you video, it is important that you remain silent, because if you're talking, then you're talking over what's going on. And I know you might be shocked, and I know you might be aghast, and I know you might want to say, look, he didn't do anything wrong, or she didn't do anything wrong. Why are you harassing him? But what is more important from a civil rights attorney perspective, when we go to sue those that abuse you, is to hear what the abuser is saying. That is critical. So video from a distance and don't announce it.
Yeah. You talked about that civil part. What are we seeing by way of numbers, particularly in New York City? I mean, I know there are a lot of lawsuits that are geared towards police. What are we seeing by way of lawsuits, and how much is the city really paying out every year with regards to wrongful police actions?
Let me just say millions, multiple millions. I believe there is somewhere close to I thought the number was either 11,000 or 1,100 pending cases right now against the New York City Police Department. That's just against the New York City Police Department. We're not talking about corrections.
Right.
Which is another entity in and of itself. And the people that are incarcerated, you want to talk about really getting the backhand of social injustice. They're really getting the backhand of social injustice. But somewhere between, I think that number is around about 1,100 or 11,000 pending cases. It is a high number, and the city pays out a good chunk of our taxpayer dollars to those who've been victimized. And as far as from being detained to physical abuse to death.
A lot. Well, listen, before we wrap, I want to make sure that I get people connected to you, right? If somebody wants to get the book, and then also to have these conversations about what to do. I know that you spend a lot of time educating people. Share with us a little bit about how people can get connected to you, the work that you're doing, and also how they can put their hands on this very, very, very timely book.
Well, you can put your hands on this book, and I'll just show it up and have you know. I don't know if you know that we have a Spanish version now.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Oh yes, you know.
No, last time we left off, all I had was the English version.
Well, let me just tell you. So when you grow up on 156th Street and Jackson Avenue, you cannot have a Spanish version. We are one and one are we. So you can go to Amazon. You can also go to cardiacarrestbook.net. You can go to cardiacarrestbooklaunch.net to purchase the book. You can also go on my website, www.roycerussellesq. That's www.royce, R-O-Y-C-E, Russell, 2 S's, 2 L's, ESQ. And just send me an email. Send an email to cardiacarrestbooklaunch.net, and purchase at cardiacarrestbook.net.
All right. Well, Royce Russell, we're going to leave it there. Thank you for this very helpful information. I think that a lot of people can definitely take to that. We've got practical information for when something really happens. And I think sometimes when it happens, people are just going by raw emotion and the emotion of the moment. But you've definitely put some perspective into that. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And you got to come back.
I am more than happy to come back, and I look forward to it.
All right. Royce Russell, attorney, the author of the book, Cardiac Do When You Get Stopped by the Police. Listen, I want you to stay with us because coming up next here on our show, we're going to take a look at the issue of homelessness in New York City. That's a social justice issue. We approach that with a very special young lady when we return right here in a few.